Hello and welcome to another episode of Hair Bear Reads Reddit. And if you found your way to my cozy little corner of the internet and you like a story or two, sit back and relax, have a listen, have a laugh, take your shoes off and set a spell. So today we have a few more stories than usual, but they're of the shorter, punchier variety from r/Traumatize Them Back. Traumatize Them Back, the subreddit with the chef's kiss built in. So let's get right into it with our first story, titled, Trapped on a Plane Next to a Crusty Old Sleaze. And this one is labeled Matched Energy, which I always love those. So, back in 2014, I was flying back to Houston from visiting my aunt in Tucson. A storm system over Dallas required us to touch down in Abilene to wait it out. I was in a middle seat next to an old guy, mid to late 60s, who was constantly flirting with the flight attendant during the takeoff procedures in Tucson. He said something especially sleazy to her that I saw her eyes roll, and I realized this man could become a problem if he wasn't managed. I opted to engage, taking control of the situation so the flight attendant could be left alone to do her job. I played coy, deflecting any serious inquiries while I scrolled pictures of my trip on my laptop. He spoke of his family and adult children. At some point, his leg was pressed against mine, and I left it there without acknowledgement. Calculated choice. We touched down in Abilene and waited. Concern over misconnections were serious.
Hey, when we get to Dallas and have missed flights, I could get a hotel room. It would be no trouble.
Oh, that's sweet. You're so silly.
It's no problem. I do it with my daughter all the time.
I bet you do. He sort of sucked in his gasp and went quiet. My words and their implication just hung there between us. His leg didn't touch mine again, and he was silent for the remainder of our time on the plane. Oh, that was subtle. That was like a scalpel. Very well done. Down in the comments, we got the best response from Bakatari, who says, he thought he had the upper hand, but you got a leg up on him. Next story is titled, Don't Trust Her with a Tape Measure. I can really see the way this is going, especially since this one is labeled Petty Revenge. Petty revenge isn't something that I usually indulge in, but I like to read stories about it. I was building some new raised garden beds. My husband, my young daughter, and I were at Lowe's. I was measuring some wood to determine how much I would need. Insert off-color joke here. Some older dude comes up to our family and says to my husband, "You shouldn't trust her with that tape measure." I turn to him and say, "I have my civil engineering degree," pointing at husband. He's a truck driver. Dude just sputters, Oh, well, have a nice day." I ignore him and go back to measuring the wood. Yes, I'm completely immature. I own that and I enjoy it. Later, I tell my daughter, "Don't put up with any man saying you can't do things." This was pretty mild, but yeah, it didn't go the direction that I thought it was going. But again, that's my gutter mind. So yeah. So basically what I guess the old guy was saying was, oh, she wouldn't know how to do anything technical or manly like building things and be able to use a tape measure because women can't count, I guess, which is even more out there than the direction I thought it was going. Alarming Distance says in the comments, this is similar to how conversations with contractors go between me and my significant other. He looks at them and says, "Ask her. She knows way more about this than I do." I don't have an engineering degree, but I'm the person who learned various types of fabrication growing up / going to college. I will say that he accuses me of building battleships when a frigate will suffice. LOL. Yeah, I can relate to this too. I mean, I've picked up a few things along the way that I've had to do, but I can measure things, I can cut things, and sometimes they even fit. But when it comes to, especially with construction, I am only too willing to admit my ineptitude. So yeah, I get this completely. So our next story is titled, If I'm in the ER, I'm sick, and it's labeled with Petty Revenge as well. So I had a migraine, and I was having trouble holding anything down. So I was in the waiting room at night, wearing sunglasses, trying not to throw up. A lady started telling me it was rude to wear the sunglasses. I've never, I mean, yeah, it's kind of like douchey to wear sunglasses inside. Like, you know, it gives off some real main character vibe. But obviously, someone's not feeling well. They're sitting in the ER. They have sunglasses on. I would say sensitivity to light would be a thing. I don't get it. Anyways, I digress. I told her very quietly, because obviously my head hurt, that I had a migraine. She said that wasn't real and I should just go home and let people who were really sick be seen. Okay, I gotta butt in. I've heard some crazy things from Reddit. You know, obviously science deniers, flat earthers, anti-vaxxers. This is the first time I've ever heard anybody deny that migraines are real. Oh, okay. All right. Anyways, I tried to tell her twice to leave me alone, then just threw up on her shoes. It wasn't much because I'd been throwing up before then, but she looked sick and walked away very quickly, looking for help in her shoes. Yeah, don't mess with somebody that's nauseous because they've got a built-in weapon. And before anyone asks, I didn't go in for the pain. I went in because I was starting to get dehydrated from the vomiting. I got fluids and Zofran to settle my stomach. Edit, this was several years ago. Now I have my migraines mostly under control. Yes, dehydration is dangerous, absolutely. So, you know, Opie did the right thing here, absolutely going in to get seen to. And did the right thing in throwing up on a loudmouth's shoes. So Opie clarifies something down in the comments as well. There was some sympathy for migraines and how excruciating they can be. But Opie says, a lot of people seem to think it's an excuse to get pain meds, but even if that's what I wanted, they don't give anything controlled for a migraine. They give fluid, something for nausea, possibly Benadryl, and often a steroid. And since most of the rest of the comments seem to have to do with how people deal with their migraines and what they usually take for them, let's move on to the next one. So this next one seems to have a theme that's an oldie but a goodie. It's titled, Traumatize My High School Bully. We always love these. And this one is labeled Nuclear Revenge. I started losing my hair when I was 15. It gradually started thinning out, and by the time I was 17, I was rocking a comb over in denial of what was happening. I hope the OP doesn't feel too bad about that denial. There are many men in middle age that do the same thing because they can't own up. Anyhow, people at school had mean nicknames, of course. Benjamin Button was one of the funnier ones looking back. That is pretty good. One student in particular had a penchant for making my life miserable. He told people that I was a creep and had done terrible things to other students. Of course, I had my friend group who loved me and accepted me, but having vicious rumors spread while also getting no girls and going bald really made things bad. So the day after junior prom, after having a terrible time, I decided enough is enough and shaved my head bald. Yes, that's it. Own it. Make it yours. Mr. Clean status. Hell yeah. I go back to school the next day, got plenty of strange looks from others and compliments from my friends. One day my bully came up and flat out asked me if I had cancer. I did not. I thought for a moment this was my opportunity. I don't know. I was about to move to another school the following week due to family issues. I would have a clean slate and a perfect opportunity to destroy my bully. I said yes and moved the next week. I heard from my friends later that the rude person who made my life hell ended up feeling quite terribly and began being nice to students afterwards, so I guess some good came of it. Okay, I've got a couple takes on this. The first one being, faking cancer is bad. Saying you have cancer when you don't, that is just asking for karma to kick you in the ass. I'm glad that something good came of it, though. If it straightened him out, if it traumatized him enough to scare him straight, awesome. I hope that balances it out because, it's just asking for trouble. So I'm glad it came out well. So apparently this is something that's more common than I thought. I've never seen anyone in high school. I've seen someone there in late 20s and 30s, the hair starts to thin, but there's a few people here that have said, down in the comments, said, my girlfriend had a roommate with full-on Friar Tuck hair. Could have sworn he was 40 when I met him until I invited him to the bar and he said he couldn't go for a few more months. Another one, I remember in middle school there was a guy in my grade who had the classic male pattern baldness, except that he was 12 and he got tormented about 12-year-olds. Can be real jerks. But yeah, okay. So there should be support groups for this. So if this is something that anybody has to deal with, then there's got to be communities that can come together to support for it. Yeah. So this next one I picked solely for the label on it, which is Blunt Force, Traumatize Them Back. And blunt force is my jam. That's pretty much, that's how I handle things. And it's titled, Ask and You Shall Receive. My 25 female dad, who was 63 male, died a few months ago. Oh, I'm very sorry. It was very traumatic for me, and I was the one who found him. Oh, did CPR, and he still didn't come back. We also lived together. Ooh. Fast forward to today. I'm at the psychiatrist's office, good, getting help, for obvious reasons. And the nurse asks me how I'm doing and how Thanksgiving went while we were waiting for the doctor to come in. I say not good, and that it's really hard now that my dad is gone. She does the whole song and dance, sorry for your loss, and it gets easier and all that stuff. And I just say, yeah, thank you, things suck right now. I do think a lot of people feel when there's nothing else to offer, then platitudes are good enough. I'm not necessarily one of those people, but at least it's meant well. There's a lull in the conversation, and she decides it's a good time to ask, how did he die? What led her to that conclusion? Who asks that? So I explain in excruciating and vivid detail the color of my dad's skin, his eyes, lips, the scrapes on my legs from trying to pick him up, and the feeling of giving him compressions, all while staring her dead in the eyes. Homegirl went white as a ghost and just says, I can see why you have trouble sleeping, and that's a lesson on not asking weird, intrusive questions. Yeah, hopefully that drives the point home. You don't ask that damn... Yeah, she was stuck for something to say. She felt like she had to say something and came up with that little gem. My God. And we actually have an excellent point and a good suggestion from the top comment from Yam International. And they say, I am so sorry, OP. My mom died coming up on 15 years ago, but I remember the first days and the rude and hurtful questions. I wish people would ask things like, what was your favorite memory of her instead? Or maybe just not ask anything. Yes, there is nothing wrong with saying nothing if you can't think of anything better to say. But if you're going to, don't ask about the bad things. Ask about something that is going to turn to the bright side. Focus on the happy memories. Celebrate life. Yes, Counting Stars also makes a really good point. And they say, my dad died from cancer on March 9th, 2008. I think of him every day. I hope you're able to find some peace. Maybe write down some memories of him. I blocked mine out so they wouldn't hurt, and now I don't have any memories of him. My favorite memory of my dad is him making breakfast on Saturday mornings when my brother and I watch cartoons. Yes, write down the happy things. Write them down and read them. Focus on them. Yes, positive. We like this. But that is all I have for you for today. And if any of these stories made you chuckle, made you think, or made you empathize, then we've done well. And as always, if you liked any of these stories, make sure to slap upon the like and subscribe button. And hopefully, we'll see you in the next one. Until then, take care, be good, and bear up.